everyone, welcome back. Today is part 2 of, I nearly put 4 fingers up then, part 2 of Areej le Dore, or Areej le Dore. And yeah, we smelled the first 4, was it 4? Yesterday. It was actually the day before yesterday. I was busy with helping family out, so I couldn't do a follow-up as quickly as I would have liked, but never mind, here we are. And so I'm going to run over the first ones that we smelled yesterday, or for you it was yesterday, for me it was 2 days ago. And I'll give you kind of my thoughts on them, how long they lasted, how they dried down. So we'll get into that first, and then we'll smell the last from the collection. So the first one we smelled was called Le Matia, which isn't really a perfume, it's not described as a perfume. And I thought it was nice personally, but very, very dry. It was like broken clay pots, kind of terracotta dust, hard sun-baked, dusty, very, very, like I say, dried, almost sucking the moisture out of the air. I didn't get kind of a wet petrichor kind of vibe. I got more like really dry dust. Not everyone will like it, but I thought it was quite nice. Doesn't last very long. It kind of gone in half an hour kind of thing, but yeah, interesting. So yeah, the first one we'll talk about is Beauty and the Beast, which I wore on that hand, I think. And I like the opening. It had this very powerful bright rose and mixed with a more slightly, I wouldn't say full-on barnyard oud, but like a little bit of a goat's hair kind of oud, a little bit animalic, but in a nice way. And I really enjoyed that. As it dried down, the oud kind of disappeared for a while, and it was like full-on heavy rose. Again, more slightly pink, brighter kind of uplifting rose. Very pretty. And I didn't get too much change with that fragrance, personally. As it dried down, I got, again, more of the woods would come back, and the rose eventually toned down. The oud got kind of stronger again. I did start to notice the cocoa. Cocoa was listed. I couldn't smell it when we first talked about it in the kind of top notes of the fragrance, but as it dries down, you definitely do get a sense of cocoa. It's not super heavily strong, but you definitely get a slight dark kind of chocolatey bitterness to the fragrance, which is interesting, but not overly done, which I think is good. It's balanced in there. And there's not much else to report with that one. It kind of just mellowed out like that. You kind of get this cocoa, chocolatey. You felt kind of vibes of it from other Areej le Dore fragrances where he combines cocoa with oud. So you get a little bit of something familiar, but it's a very pleasant combination, and it lasted quite a long time on my skin. In terms of longevity for Beauty and the Beast, I got around 12 hours, easily 11, 12 hours longevity. It does sit closer to the skin, obviously. After a few hours it becomes more intimate, but really a long-lasting fragrance. The animalic kind of goat hair, horse hair, kind of barnyard-like oud in the top notes really mellows out, and that kind of a little bit raw animalic kind of vibe does disappear as it dries down. It becomes much more smooth, slightly sweetened oud. Again, a little bit of that cocoa vibe going on. Altogether, very nice. I enjoyed it, and yeah, very long-lasting. The second one, Gul Hina, or Gul Hina, and this one was my favourite one that I smelled so far. I thought it was great. I really like it. In terms of like, I was trying to compare it in my head to how you could think of it in terms of a brand line, and as Amouage kind of came to my mind. If you think of fragrances like Interlude Man and these kind of beastly, complex, strong, powerful fragrances in the Amouage line, and then you get something like Reflection Man, and it's like mass appealing, easy to wear, most people really like it. It's a little bit like what Reflection Man does for Amouage to what this does for Areej le Dore. It's like all those heavy, potent, complex, beastly kind of fragrances, and then you get this one, which is like really likable, very easy to wear, very pleasant. There's no funk to it, there's no crazy notes going on, it's just really pretty. And so that's kind of the way that I would kind of describe it that way. But this was, again, a really long-lasting fragrance with not that much change except, and I found this one hard to describe, it definitely smells floral without being like flowery, petally floral. It's not like womanly floral, it's completely unisex smelling. It's slightly sweet. I've never smelled the henna notes personally, but if that's a little bit how it smells, then it smells great. It's slightly sweet again, floral sweet, and very skin-like or smooth, soft. It's very, very pleasant. The only real change I noticed was the musks increasing in the dry down, and you get more of this kind of very clean fabric-like musk, ever so slightly sweetened and really long-lasting, easily over 12 hours longevity on my skin. Again, it does sit closer to the skin after 4 or 5 hours. It's more kind of close, intimate, but definitely it's still there as a skin scent 12, 13, 14, 15 hours later. It was very, very long lasting. So that's my favorite so far. I think that was a really, really nice, very beautiful kind of smelling fragrance. Like I say, the only noticeable difference was a definite increase in you're left with more the musk molecules in the dry down, a little bit of that kind of sandalwood, making it kind of smooth, kind of a little bit creamy, and good stuff. I enjoyed it. The next one was Ambre de Coco. I did not like the top notes of this one. This was very animalic-y, kind of pissy kind of smelling, a little bit like in fact, it came back in the far dry down. I got a little bit more of it that seemed to linger, and I don't know if there's like civet in here or something, or I'm not quite sure. That's not listed on the notes, but it almost reminded me of, I use honey accords in some of my perfumes, and in the very, very far dry down of honey accords, and for some people it's more in the top notes, but for me I don't get it till the dry down, but it's got a slightly pissy Uranus kind of funk to honey accords sometimes, which I notice, and this has that kind of sweetened honey-like pissy kind of smell. It was very strong in the opening and on my skin, and a little bit in the dry down as well, but the middle of the fragrance is very nice. I found it very difficult to describe because the note list suggests 50 kind of herbs and spices, and I couldn't smell any particular spice or herb. In particular, it came across floral to me, I would say. And I wouldn't be able to pinpoint even kind of what kind of floral. It just has a floral-like smell to it. That's very nice after the initial top notes, like I say. And there is a peach accord, which is noticeable for the first couple of hours, I would say. And yeah, in the base, there's Indian oud, oak moss, amber. I don't get a whole lot of that. I didn't really write that in my notes. I think you get the sparkly kind of ambergris, almost musky-like ambergris coming through. And again, this kind of slightly sweet floral kind of vibe to me. Again, not spicy, not herby, and not particularly oudy kind of smelling. Again, more kind of an unusual floral accord with kind of a sparkly, kind of watery, musky kind of ambergris. In the far dry down, it does come across a little bit more vintage in style. Like I could imagine like a really old Guerlain smelling something like this as it starts to really dry down in the far dry down. I do think touches of things like the oak moss comes through a little bit of the sandalwood, and it lends this kind of soft velvety kind of smooth texture to the dry down. Again, it has a vintage kind of almost classical style as it dries down. This was the longest lasting fragrance. Not a huge amount of change for me on my skin, apart from the elements I just said. In terms of longevity, I am talking over 20 hours, over 24 hours, 30 hours, 35 hours. I'm hitting like 40 hours, like literally 48 hours. I'm not exaggerating. On my skin, this was like, it's still there 2 days later, 48 hours later, and it's crazy. It's like it's the one of the strongest, longest lasting fragrances I've ever tried. It was ridiculous on my skin. And it's not like it's just a skin scent. Like from here, 48 hours later, if I'm walking around, I would get wafts of it still. And I'm like, I can still smell it 2 days later. It's crazy. So very, very long lasting. If I get comments from people now and again saying, I want long lasting fragrance, tell me long lasting fragrance, like buy that one if that's all you care about. Very, very long lasting. So we're gonna get into the final three. I've never smelled these before. These are completely brand new first impressions, and we'll see how this last three smells. And at the end of the video, what I'll do is I will come back this evening or maybe even tomorrow and let you know how it dried down for the rest of the day and the changes and the longevity and things like that. And then it ends this kind of first impression lot. So yeah, I'll be back in a second. We'll smell the rest of them. So now we are going to smell the final three. The first one that I can see in the pouch is called Mysore Incenza, which is a nice name. It means it's got sandalwood in it. Okay, so we'll read the card before we have a smell, so we can have an idea of what's in here. Aged Indian Mysore sandalwood, beautiful. Focused incense composition with an alluring vintage feel, showcasing the most traditional way-off perfume. Is that? Oh, sorry, way. Some of the words in this thing are kind of joined together, or missing letters, and they've kind of filled it in with pen. So sometimes it's a little confusing reading it, but you'll get the gist of it. Way of perfuming, using the smoke of frankincense and sandalwood. Top notes of smoky frankincense, heart notes of Indian rose, jasmine, and a touch of natural ambergris. Base notes of Mysore sandalwood distilled in the year 2000, amber accord, and natural fossil amber resin. So this sounds interesting. I'm not a huge fan of jasmine, so hopefully that's not too massive. So, but we'll see. Obviously sandalwood, well I say obviously, maybe you don't know, but sandalwood is one of my favourite notes in perfumery, so 3 for good luck. Woo! Wow, whoa! Wow, that's strong. What is that? See, the first thing that popped in my head was that it's kind of violety, like a irisy kind of violety kind of thing going on. Very perfumed smelling. I use the word now and again. Perfumed, it's perfumey, but I get a kind of perfumed vibe from the top notes. Hopefully you kind of get what I mean by that. Let me read the notes again. Smoky frankincense, Indian rose, jasmine, natural ambergris, Mysore sandalwood distilled in 2000, amber cord, natural amber resin. So there obviously is no kind of violety thing going on in here. That was the kind of the vibe that it gave me. I was like, is that kind of almost violety kind of smelling? There's a kind of a floral kind of thing going on that doesn't necessarily smell like rose and jasmine. Interesting. Is that just me? Oh wait. Oh, that smell was different. Oh, I'm getting the frankincense. Wow. Yeah, you get this deep kind of frankincense. Interesting. I get what he says by smoky frankincense. Okay, this is interesting. It's going quite frankincense forward at the moment. This is nice. I get, again, big. It's coming like frankincense is pushing off now, and I do kind of get what he means by smoky frankincense. There is a interesting kind of deep frankincense vibe. The florals are definitely there. For some reason they smell a little bit like violet in the top note, not so much at the moment. But I got kind of a slightly ironone-like violety thing in the top. I don't know if anyone else is getting that. I don't know how that happens. But yeah, slightly floral. The florals are definitely there. And this big frankincense thing. I think you can... I think at the moment the sandalwood is there, but it's like slightly taking, it's like it's looking through the frankincense and the florals. It is slightly, I was about to say musky, like ethereal musky. Ambergris does tend to do that. I use it a lot myself in my perfumes, and I think that's the effect it's having here, kind of a little bit musky, kind of ethereal, kind of translucent almost. It's a little bit different from some of his other creations. Like I said, some of Russian Adam's work is kind of a bit nuclear, a bit kind of potent, in your face, lots of things going on, multiple levels of things that's kind of quite complex and you don't really know what you're smelling. This one feels, I don't like using the word simple because it almost comes across negative, but I don't mean it in a negative way, but minimalist it's spacious. It's not like assaulting you with all these different things and your brain's getting confused and you're like, what am I smelling? It's not that kind of blend in this one. It's like, it's transparent, it's giving you frankincense, it's giving it a bit of floral, it's giving you this kind of musky kind of tone with this kind of sandalwood in the background, and it's easy to digest, it's easy to kind of feel. It really comes down to, do you get an emotional connection to it when you smell it? Does it make you feel something? Are you attracted to it or not? And you know, that's really the core of perfumery, and I think everyone will get a different reaction when they smell these. I don't love this one, but I think it's pleasant, and I'm interested to see how it dries down, whether that sandalwood really comes through as it dries down. At the moment, it really feels like it's this soup of frankincense and florals, and it's very smooth, and the frankincense has got a slightly piercing kind of fresh quality to it. What I like is that the jasmine part of it doesn't come across overly indolic. That's the only thing about jasmine that I'm not keen on, is that this kind of indolic, kind of slightly dirty smell that it can have. This smells quite clean, which is good. We will move on to the next one, and this is called Malik al Matia. I have no idea how to pronounce that. Malik al Matia. Apologies if my pronunciation is incorrect. And it reads, heavy oriental twist on one of the most beautiful Indian jasmine attars called Attar Motia, with top notes of jasmine, grandiflorium, blue lotus and davana. Heart notes of jasmine sambac, attar based in sandalwood oil, oud from Pranchinburi province in Thailand. Base notes of sandalwood, benzoin, Peru balsam and amber accord. So we're looking at probably quite a floral perfume in this. We've got blue lotus, jasmine, two different kinds of jasmine, combined with sandalwood, Thai oud, and some resins in the base with a little bit of sandalwood. So this does sound a little bit familiar in terms of what he's done previously. So we'll see how different or how similar it is. Interesting. Personally, I'm not like I say, not the biggest fan of jasmine, but this is pleasant. It's not, again, not overly indolic, as in funky or dirty. But you definitely get that body of kind of white floral, petal-y kind of, you know, definitely floral. Interesting. I mean, I don't exactly know what to say off the top of my head. It's almost subtly spiced in a way, and there's no spices listed at all, so there might not be in there, but you get something that's almost slightly spiced. You get this deep kind of white floral kind of vibe. It does smell a little bit woody, and I can't tell what I'm smelling in terms of, can I pick out the oud or the sandalwood or both? I'm not sure at the moment. Probably as it dries down you might get a better feel for that, but it is very floral in the opening. Depending on your how you feel about perfumery, some guys might say, oh, this is feminine, this smells like a woman, because their brain says floral is woman. Obviously, I would say it's unisex, and if you like it, you like it. But I think you do have to like a kind of white floral, I guess. Again, jasmine's not my favourite floral, but this does smell nice. I'm appreciating what I'm smelling. I think there's a beauty in it. There is, it smells rich, I think is a good word. Rich, full. Not much to say apart from I'm getting quite a strong floral accord. You definitely get the jasmine up front. It has almost a slightly musky kind of quality to it at the same time. Interesting. I would put this as more of a daytime fragrance for... In fact, that's something we only did a little bit in the other video in terms of when, or like where, the feel of it, so to speak. So I'll go over that in this one. This smells more daytime, spring, I would say, in terms of like if you wanted to pick one really good season for it, spring obviously would feel like the more appropriate. And I think you could pull that off in a suit or in jeans and a t-shirt. I think fairly versatile in terms of when you could wear it. You could probably get away with wearing that in an office if you sprayed not too much. You don't want to choke people out, but if it was just, then I think that would be fine. There's nothing like scary about it. There's no like huge crazy notes going on. There's no huge, you know, castoreum civet thing happening or funky oud. It's quite chill. It's pretty, it's beautiful, it's floral, it's enjoyable. So I think fairly versatile in terms of how you could wear it through the year. I say spring as an ideal, obviously, but even in the summer you could wear that. In the autumn would be fine. So yeah, very nice. But again, you have to like the white florals. You're gonna have to enjoy jasmine. But again, just to run over, I'm not getting any kind of indolic funk from this, which is great because I'm not a fan of that. This smells quite clean, very beautiful, very nice. So that's good. Nothing more to say on that as of yet. We'll see how that dries down and we'll talk about it later. The last one in the collection is called Al Majmua. Again, I can't pronounce the name, sorry. Al Majmua, possibly incorrect pronunciation. Modern cheaper version of one of the most famous and challenging Indian attars, Al Majmua, captures the essence of a green, fresh herbal aura and uses several iconic Indian ingredients such as rookus, vetiver, kuda, pondaneus flower, sandalwood and patchouli. So it has top notes of bergamot and black currant, heart notes of traditional Attar Majmua featuring green rookus, Indian vetiver, patchouli, kadam and pandanus flower, not quite sure how to pronounce that one, distilled in Indian sandalwood oil, base notes of cedarwood, oak moss and an iris accord. I'm fond of iris and also orris butter, so yeah, we'll see how that goes. I'm not overly a green perfume fan in general. I would say it's not my favourite kind of notes in perfumery. I'm struggling to get it out of the box. Here we go, I've got it. And then I'm going to wear this out for the whole day, and then probably tomorrow I want to get, you know, tell you accurately about the dry downs and longevity in two concepts. Wow, I'm getting the iris from here, very iron-y. I've not even moved my arm, it's like down there. From the air you get the iris iron thing immediately. That's interesting. I would say that's interesting. You definitely get that kind of green, kind of more green kind of vetiver kind of thing going on. I've not had the opportunity to smell rookus, the Indian vetiver, but I like that. That is interesting. Let me look at the notes again. I'm not getting, maybe dabbles at most of bergamot blackcurrant. I wouldn't have guessed blackcurrant, at least from a top note. if it wasn't written down, I wouldn't have said. Even the bergamot is kind of hidden. The first thing that I got from the air was the Ionone iris thing coming out at me. Was definitely the high impact molecule thing going on straight into my nose. When you smell it closer, you're getting a feeling of a more kind of green herbal vetiver kind of thing going on, blending with that Ionone kind of irisy thing, with this other kind of floral kind of thing going on at the same time, which I'm presuming is the pandanus flower. I've never smelled it. I have no idea what it smells like. So this is quite interesting. At the moment, I wouldn't say I'm getting a heavy patchouli, but that can come out in the dry down more. From the top note, it's not massively obvious, but you do get this. I would say the vetiver thing is probably more noticeable to me. It's got a freshness. It's kind of, it's not, although there's this kind of green vetiver, it's not overly earthy or dark or like, you know, it doesn't go too far that way. It's kind of a little bit more uplifting than that. I like the combination that I'm smelling. Like I say, I'm getting that kind of a little bit more Ionone floral thing, and it's mixing with this kind of more greener kind of vetiver. And I think it's a nice combination. Maybe not one I'm not sure I would want to own a bottle for myself personally. I probably wouldn't see myself wearing it, but I think some people might really enjoy this one. It feels different, I would say. There's something a little different about it. I would say in general, all of these have been very unisex. This one's definitely a unisex perfume. And in terms of season for this particular one, I think all year round, honestly. In the summer, I think it could work easy, just a bit lighter on the sprays. Spring, definitely. Autumn, definitely. Winter, probably. I think you could pull that off all year round, and I mean, I don't like telling people like when to wear it. Sometimes I'll say like, oh, well, I can imagine you wearing a suit in this, because some perfumes you just wouldn't wear like dressed up. This one maybe feels a little bit more, I don't know really. I mean, I can imagine a nice shirt, nice shoes, you know. Also, I can imagine jeans and a t-shirt. Also, I can imagine a woman in a beautiful dress. So, you know, whenever, you know. It really comes down to how you connect with it, how you feel with it emotionally, like I said previously. But really, all year round, most occasions, I think this would work for. So in terms of Areej le Dore, I think some of these are more, there's more opportunities to wear them, you know, with certain fragrances that I can think of that he's done previously. It's like, well, how often would you wear that in a year? Probably not that frequently, you know. These feel like you could wear them and no one's gonna complain, no one's gonna say you smell bad. They all have a very kind of likable approach, whether or not you like the blending or the specific notes. Maybe, you know, not your taste, but regardless, I don't think anyone would say you smell bad. So, you know, easier to wear than some of the others. Not that I'm saying the others smell bad, but some of the perfumes can be more challenging for like the average nose that isn't a perfume collector and that isn't into ouds and funky animal notes, you know. As a kind of a mass more appeal. So yeah, interesting stuff, and I'm not sure how they will connect with other people. I think some of them are going a little bit of a different direction to some of Russian Adam's work in terms of style or the way that they come across. So I think maybe trying different things a little bit, but also familiar in a way that I'm reminded of previous works that he's done, previous smells that come across with the floral combinations, and and you know, using similar notes and again some new notes, but there is, like I say, a familiar DNA, or the way that he likes to blend, the way that he likes perfumes to smell. That's definitely present. At the same time, slightly in a different direction to some of the other ones that I've smelled. So we're gonna go back. I think I started on this hand, then this hand, then this wrist. So we'll go here. And this one should be Mysore Incenza. We'll go back and have a smell. Not changed much. I'm definitely picking up the frankincense and the jasmine, the kind of floral accord with the jasmine. I'll see how it dries down. I'm not in love with that one personally. I'm not sure I would buy that from an impression, first of all. With the dry down having Mysore sandalwood and amber accords, and ambergris, you know, those are some of my favourite things. I think it could be great in the dry down. The top notes, probably partly because I'm not a fan of jasmine on a personal level. I do appreciate frankincense, but I'm not overwhelmed with that one. Personal taste, obviously. I think, again, it's how you connect emotionally. For me, I'm not getting that kind of emotional response from this one. So this one probably wouldn't be my go-to from this line, but we'll see how it dries down. Moving on to the Malik al Matia. I can't pronounce these names, I apologise. But this one was focused on jasmine, blue lotus, Davana, with some sandalwood, oud from Thailand, and some resins in the dry down. I think you do get a little bit of the lotus coming through now. Before it was like big old jasmine, but in a pleasant way, because again, I'm not a fan of jasmine, but not bad. There's no funk to it. I can pick out the lotus here, and I like lotus. I've used it myself. It's a note that I appreciate and enjoy. I think you're getting a mixture of the jasmine and the lotus, and that's quite nice. Again, focused on the florals primarily. I'm presuming as those florals tone down, probably after around 6 or 7 hours, you might start to get the kind of the ouds and the sandalwood and the resins, so we'll see how that dries down. Not one that I would wear personally for myself, but if you like those kind of florals, you might really enjoy that one. Going back to the last one, which was Al Majmua, and this one using the traditional Rukus vetiver from India, with the iris accord, oak moss, cedar, Pandora's flower, all good stuff. I'm definitely getting this kind of more green vetiver with this, like I say, iris ironone kind of accord thing. It's not one I would wear myself personally on a personal taste level. I'm not drawn to that, again, through my own taste. But I would say if you like vetiver and you like the combination, specifically in the top notes with the iris, then I would say you might really enjoy it if you like those particular notes. There is kind of, the vetiver does have this green, dark kind of rootiness to it, as you would presume from vetiver, but yeah, you definitely get that kind of rooty green herbal vibe coming from this one. The way it mixes with the floral elements is interesting. And I'm not getting the blackcurrant or the bergamot. If that wasn't listed on the notes, I'm not sure anyone would ever have guessed blackcurrant. Possibly, but I doubt it. It's definitely not obvious. It obviously plays some kind of a role in the perfume, otherwise it wouldn't be in there, but it's not obvious, like I say, to the nose. Really what it feels like it's focusing on is more that kind of herbal green vetiver note and the way that it mixes with the floral accord. So that's it for the first impression of the top notes. I will now go away and wear this for the whole day. Tomorrow lunchtime, it's lunchtime today on Saturday. Lunchtime on Sunday, I will come back and I will film the last part of this video, which talks about dry down and longevity. There's one more thing I want to mention. I talked about Ambre de Coco having kind of a pissy kind of funk to it, kind of animalic and kind of funky. And I could smell it very strong in the top, and then it kind of went away, and then I smelt a hint of it in the dry down. Like I said, it reminded me of the the pissiness that you get from honey accords. I got a little bit of that in the dry down. I saw my mother and sister yesterday, and on my mother's skin, it smelled completely different. And she put it on her hand, and I was telling her, oh, this is really funky, I don't think you'll like it. And she smelled it and was like, oh, that's lovely. I was like, really? Like, and it smelled totally different on her skin. It was kind of mind-blowing how different it was. On me, very animalic and pissy. On my mother's skin, it smelled floral, very lovely. There was no seemingly funk there or pissiness, and I was kind of confused about how mental skin chemistry is. So I want to put a warning on that, so to speak. Just because I got that on my skin, it might smell freaking fabulous on you. So don't let that put you off. That's just life experience. I remember it happening once with my sister, where we were smelling a perfume that had a kind of fruity top notes, and on me I didn't I'm not really getting the fruitiness from this. And then my sister sprayed it on, and I was like, oh my god, that smells like super juicy. Like, the fruit came off her skin way more than me. And so skin chemistry, although we don't often think about it, and we like to think how we smell is how a perfume is, and then someone else's opinion is like, you know, you just kind of don't get it. But it literally can smell different on another person. So bear that in mind for all of the perfume you smell. It can smell completely like a different perfume on someone else. So make sure you test it out yourself. Don't rely on me. I'm a guide, so to speak, on maybe what to expect. If your skin chemistry is similar to mine, it might be a completely different experience for you. Just something to keep in mind. Test perfumes yourself, and just because you don't like it doesn't mean someone else won't like it. Just because it smells bad on you doesn't mean it smells bad on everybody. Just remember that. So today is tomorrow. Tomorrow is today. Mysore Incenza, we've just spoke about yesterday in a few seconds ago, and really it stayed mostly the same as it dried down. The frankincense, very long lasting. I could smell it way into the mid and to the dry down, and that felt like the main kind of aspect to my nose was this kind of smoky kind of incensey frankincense. As it dried down into the deep dry down, the main change was being able to start to smell the sandalwood, and yeah, this slightly musky quality. There's natural ambergris on the note list, so giving this kind of ethereal musky quality with the sandalwood. There was a hint of a sweetness. I don't know, it's not listed on the note list, but maybe there was maybe a touch of tonka or something in the ambergris maybe. But you got a kind of a slightly sweet, musky sandalwood dry down. Feels familiar, but very nice. A nice kind of dry down. That was the kind of the main thing to take away from it. So in terms of longevity, around 9 hours on my skin for this one. Altogether, I thought it was okay. I didn't love that one. I like frankincense and I like sandalwood, but maybe it came across maybe a little bit simplified in a way that didn't hold my interest. I didn't find myself wanting to smell it all the time, so that I didn't get a connection with that one personally. However, that's just personal taste, and everyone will have a kind of a different experience with that. For me, I didn't quite feel a pull for that one, but the dry down is very nice, and I did like the top as well. I like the way that frankincense comes through with the florals. It was, yeah, a nice fragrance, but like I didn't feel like a wow kind of, I didn't get that reaction from myself. Moving on to the next one was Malik al Motia, not sure how to pronounce it. With this one, as it dried down, I got a very soapy feeling on my skin. I think the way that the jasmine and the different florals in here, there's jasmine, there's blue lotus, there's davana, the way that those mix together in this perfume as it dries down on my skin, I got a very floral bar of soap that was very clean, no indolic aspects on my skin, very clean, luxurious, creamy, soapy, watery kind of feeling. The blue lotus, the lotus flower has a kind of a watery kind of texture, and I think that even lended itself even more to this kind of soapy, kind of watery, soapy kind of floral scent on my skin. So again, quite soapy. In terms of the dry down, I didn't particularly notice there's sandalwood, benzoin, Peru balsam, amber accord, oud from Thailand. I didn't get huge amounts of being able to smell those specifically as it dried down, but I think you get more of a woodiness coming through as it dried down, but still the kind of bar of floral soap persisted all the way through, really. It just got a little bit more woody without being specific, kind of hard to identify whether you're smelling, you know, which aspects of things, but, you know, woody kind of ambery aspect coming through while retaining this kind of very floral clean bar of soap smell. So I would say that floral bar of soap persisted for a good 6 to 7 hours, and then again a little bit more woody while kind of retaining that aspect even in the far dry down, with the longevity being around 10 hours on my skin. Not quite as long lasting as some of the other ones, but 10 hours is still very, very long. The entire day. I don't think anyone will ever complain about the longevity for that. With that one, there's not really, it's quite linear. I didn't get really much change. I think it kind of softens and mellows out and just kind of persists. Like I say, with maybe a little bit more woody as it dries down, but there's no, in a sense, progression or journey through the scent. It's, like I say, a very slow linear kind of progression. Some might find it on the, again, kind of simple side. I feel like these are maybe a slight, it feels like Areej le Dore, but also it's almost like a slightly different direction of like creating something more simple in a very harmonious, balanced, kind of singular accord kind of style, if that makes sense, where you feel the whole kind of block as an accord that kind of just persists the whole way through. And yeah, you might lose interest with that one, possibly. It depends how you feel about the florals and the soapiness, whether that aspect might not even come on your skin, but for me it was quite soapy. So that one, I wouldn't wear it myself personally, but if you like, you really need to like the florals. If you like the jasmine and, you know, the white kind of floral aspect, the way that it mixes and the kind of soapiness, then you might really enjoy that one. And the last one was Al Majmua, and this one, as it dried down, I never was able to perceive the blackcurrant on my skin. And on my notes, I wrote that really the vetiver took over for the dry down, the Rucus Indian vetiver, kind of green, earthy, rooty vetiver, and that really kind of got stronger as it dried down. Maybe a little bit of the sandalwood, but the vetiver definitely on top. And yeah, that was the main kind of feeling in the dry down, was going into that kind of more rooty, green, earthy vetiver. And like I say, you would need to be a fan of the Rucus, the vetiver note in this. The way that it mixes in the top with the iris is quite interesting and quite nice. As it dries down, it's more focused on those woods, and it just keeps going with that. This was the shortest lasting fragrance from the kind of the main collection, Le Miti aside. That's like gone in 20-30 minutes. But from the full perfume collection, this one was the shortest lasting. On my skin, it was gone in 6 hours. Skin chemistry dependent, I think. You know, some people might get longer, some maybe even get shorter, but for me, a solid 6 hours, and then I couldn't really smell it anymore. So a little bit shorter on that one, and not a whole lot of the base didn't really grab me. I got like the vetiver thing going on, but like maybe a little bit more of panache or something to capture your interest in the dry down might have been nice. It I don't know, it didn't quite give me a satisfied feeling in the dry down personally. I think the top and the mid was the best part. The dry down kind of just goes more into the vetiver and kind of loses its kind of sparkle in a way. But if you really like vetiver, I think obviously you'll enjoy it. But again, maybe on the I suppose my memory bank is going to some of the older compositions, but like I keep emphasizing, these ones feel a little bit more simplified in terms of you're only smelling a couple of things, so to speak, or an accord of things that smell like one thing, but still, because even if it's a complicated accord, because it creates an accord of a new smell, and that's the block that you're smelling for a long time, it still feels like one thing. So you're either smelling a couple of things or one big thing. So in that way, they come across simple, even if they're not, so to speak, in the formula. For instance, one had, you know, 50 herbs and spices, but it didn't come across that way in complexity. It still smelled or came across more simple in the way that you perceive it with your brain. So yeah, my favorite by far in the collection was definitely Gul Hina, and I did see a list of the pricing, and that one is actually the cheapest out of the whole collection. For me, it's by far the one that I felt the most connection to, that I wanted to smell more of, that I didn't lose my interest. I enjoyed it properly. I thought it smelled great. I would wear it myself. I thought it was very, very nice, and I'm tempted, and I've never purchased an Areej le Dore perfume before, ever. Out of all the ones I've smelled, I never committed to wanting to buy a bottle personally. Even though I enjoy testing the samples and talking about them, it never clicked that much that I actually wanted to own one. That one, that's tempting me. I'll see how I feel on the day that it's launched, but if I was ever going to buy an Areej le Dore up to date, it would be that one. So that would be one to keep an eye on. And fortunately, it's the cheapest, so that's cool. So yeah, that's my whole thoughts on the new collection. If you've tried the sample set, I know people are starting to get them now. Let people know what you think. What's your favourite? Leave your feedback for other people, and that'll help people get a good feeling for the perfumes. And I will see you soon. Thank you again to Russian Adam for being kind enough to reach out and to offer these, and he was very clear in the message that I could be as honest and open as I want and say what I like, and you know, he likes the feedback and the honesty. So I think that's a sign of a great artist, that he, you know, I don't like the word criticism in terms of, because this is not criticism at all. I think art connects with people in different ways, and just because it doesn't connect with one person doesn't mean the next person won't fall in love and think it's the best thing they've ever seen or smelled. And so that personal connection is a tricky thing in art. Like I say, the one that really connected to me was Gul Hina. I think that one's fantastic. And Beauty and the Beast I thought was good as well. I like the rose, I like the oud, especially in the opening, that kind of a little bit of funk, a little bit of goat's hair without being too much, I thought was great. And there's aspects, to be fair, of all of them that I thought were good. Amber de Cocoa, didn't like the kind of slightly pissy top note or the pissy kind of dry down, but on my mother's skin, who wore it, didn't get pissy at all, and it smelled great, very beautiful. So skin chemistry is a big thing with that one. And the midsection was great. I thought the way that the cocoa came through was interesting and a good mix. Mysore Incenza, I like aspects of it, but I didn't fall in love with it. Malik al Matia, I can't pronounce the name. I think it smells nice. Like I say, very floral soap bar kind of smell. Very pleasant, very beautiful, but for me it's not one that I would feel to wear myself personally. I would say that's the most easy to wear for a woman specifically, and like I say, you need to like the white florals for that one. And again, Al Majmua, great if you like vetiver. I think if you're a vetiver nut, you will love that one, and that might even be kind of your holy grail fragrance if you're really into vetiver. For me, I like vetiver in kind of balanced doses. I find I don't wear vetiver perfumes that often, so that one's slightly a miss for me, although I appreciated the interest of the opening and the uniqueness of Rucus. It does definitely smell different to other more normal kind of vetivers. So that's it. Take care everyone, see you soon with another video. Bye.
One time he disappeared for 2 or 3 days. When he came back, they asked him where he'd been, and he said, "Oh, just sailing."